Hello friends, Andy here for What Culture Wrestling, and WWE Fastlane is right around the corner. It's quietly quite the stacked card, with matches like Becky Lynch versus Charlotte Flair and Rey Mysterio versus Andrade sure to deliver. But there isn't a whole lot of hype around it, and that's pretty weird. That being said, by the time this pay-per-view goes off the air, you're either going to be very excited about WrestleMania 35, or drowning in a tsunami of liquid stool. Much of this will depend on how the show goes off the air, so with that in mind, we're going to have a nice wee chat about how WWE Fastlane should end if the company really want to make the most of it. And surprise, surprise, it doesn't involve Charlotte Flair, Ronda Rousey, or even Becky Lynch. So grab yourselves a snack or whatever the hell you eat, sit down, and get ready for the last WWE pay-per-view before WrestleMania 35. Because I'm Andy for What Culture Wrestling, and this is how WWE Fastlane 2019 must end. WWE donated a bizarrely ample amount of time to March's Fastlane pay-per-view across both Raw and SmackDown during the past go-home week. This is pretty jarring, mostly because of how so many of the WWE roster are already looking past this show and towards the WrestleMania sign that looms over all and sundry in arenas at the moment. It is the very same sign that CM Punk captioned with an iconic depressed Dusty Rhodes line about 24 hours before his less than friendly WWE exit in 2014. A sign Randy Orton seemed intent on punting harder than literally every McMahon when he won the 30-man Royal Rumble in 2009. A sign that Ronda Rousey pointed to about 400 times in her goofy debut at the Rumble last year. A sign that seemed to hate Roman Reigns as much as the Philadelphia crowd when it simply refused to fire rockets in time with his fist bump pose at the end of the 2015 Rumble, even though there was already a pretty big rocket strapped to his back. It is the literal manifestation of every superstar's journey from January onwards, signposted for any member of the WWE universe that requires their hand-holding on the road to WrestleMania, where, if the main roster's best and brightest have built enough momentum, they'll have a WrestleMania moment to last a lifetime. And I've just used so much WWE speak in one paragraph that I kind of feel a little bit sick. The sudden investment in a B-level pay-per-view like Fastlane requires the sudden investment in several stars just weeks before an event that's framed as the long-awaited season finale, that being WrestleMania. So, with that in mind, how did WWE piece together the perfect set piece for the beginning of the end? Stephanie McMahon is to blame for all of this bluster, because of course she is. WWE's chief brand officer has, unlike her time as head of creative, and this is Vince McMahon's opinion too, remember, not just mine, performed magnificently in her role. In 2017, we all rode the ultimate thrill ride, screaming out Pitbull's infectious green light along the way. Last year, we were forced to celebrate alongside Kid Rock for the second time in 4 years, as the grubby little fanny popped AJ Styles and your da with a ropey Hall of Fame speech. Philanthropy might be the future of marketing, thanks Stephanie, but such synergy is rooted in cynicism. That's why Fastlane exists, and it's why Roadblock was briefly a thing as well. It's why WWE Speed Limit seems just a year or so away, and why so many wrestlers are potholes and speed bumps at this time of year rather than just mere opponents. And in the case of some, they'd be better off lying motionless in the middle of a busy road than actually working this particular show. If they were just left off the card, Kevin Owens and Rusev wouldn't have been steamrolled half as brutally as they were at the 2017 event. Or how about Daniel Bryan, who in 2015 couldn't even blockade his own audience's disdain for opponent Roman Reigns. AJ Styles proved himself the exception to the rule last year, protecting a WrestleMania clash with Shinsuke Nakamura from John Cena's busy hands in that 6-man main event. And look how that turned out. Instead of being the champ at WrestleMania 34, Cena was getting pished in the crowd, waiting for The Undertaker to show up. Indeed, Fastlane exists not because it needs to, but because it has to. WWE have business obligations to fulfill, etc, etc, etc. And as a result, it is subsequently cursed for it. But in the words of my very good close personal friends, Mr. Langston, Woods and Kingston, It's a new day. Yes, it is, and no, I'm not going to do the impression. SmackDown Live's Fastlane Go Home show was smartly dedicated to getting Kevin Owens over A as a babyface and B as a believable threat to Daniel Bryan and his lovely hemp WWE Championship that, much to AJ Styles' disappointment, he still hasn't smoked. The company briefly resorted to their absolute worst selves with a gag about the challenger's belly, and Bella Bryan's self-satisfaction with his own zinger undid the sting before an unusually earnest KO did the exact same. Basically, WWE achieved a little with a lot, and then they reminded audiences that Owens had no friends in order to counter Eric Rowan until Mustafa Ali showed up with his own unfinished business with Bryan as the key motivating factor. Mustafa could well be the counter for Rowan at Fastlane, but the company were clever enough to leave Sami Zayn's name out of everybody's mouth ahead of the Sunday pay-per-view. Owens has one friend at the very least, but a quick look at the former El Generico's Twitter suggests that he may return alongside the very man he faced at last year's show of shows, rather than siding with his former compadre in the Yep movement. As is the case with Daniel Bryan, all the good that Sami Zayn earnestly wants to do for the real world has to travel through Vince McMahon's filter, becoming something truly awful in the WWE universe. The Sami for Syria campaign's complete lack of focus on WWE television compared to, say, Susan G. Komen and their annual pink carpet welcome could well form his first fiery salvo against the capitalist empire. Echoing everything Bryan has said about the everyman, Owens would stoke the fire for their own WrestleMania match. But what about the WWE Champion himself? The new Daniel Bryan success has been vindicating for his fans, but a lack of clear direction for WrestleMania 35 has served as a reminder of how little his match matters when compared to whatever bombast, bollocks and ballyhoo the company have served up for one of their biggest priorities, the hardest man alive, Shane McMahon. By accident, or maybe by design, Bryan is the relied upon but forgotten about entity in all of this. He has more in common with our guy Kofi Kingston than he'd care to admit. Now in this storyline, Vince McMahon was once again cast as an out-of-touch imbecile for replacing Kofi Kingston in the WWE title match at Fastlane. His actual children looked on with the same disbelief shown when he removed Becky Lynch from the WrestleMania main event a few weeks prior. Now, this is all kayfabe, of course. The company appear to understand the wider perception of his growing insanity and are booking it as a narrative device. But Vince's disinterest in the New Day star could easily apply to the existing WWE champion as well. Bryan, hemp belt and all, is not Vince McMahon's ideal wrestler, and nor will he ever be, but the vast amount of creative freedom he's apparently being afforded in his new role suggests that there's a level of trust that the chairman reserves for very few others. This is a very, very good thing and a super encouraging sign. Daniel Bryan gives this section of the fanbase so much to enjoy every single week, even if they aren't permitted to chant yes as he holds his title aloft. His character is a layered, nuanced, thoughtful, cynical, logical human being. The character is a real person making real decisions that jive with his code of ethics in a way that juggles the stereo reactions that now occur within every single fan in this post-kayfabe age, particularly when it comes to popular heels. Bryan has become the villain that discerning fans love to hate. And remember, all good heels used to be this way. Fans old enough or wise enough to see kayfabe strings weren't looking for baddies to be genuinely bad, but to be the very best at portraying being bad. It was the paradox that every truly great wrestling heel approached with vigor, but the industry's ever-changing landscape has made it harder than ever for the heat to feel real. And over babyface provides the solution, but the real world barely provides enough of them as it is, let alone WWE's complex and convoluted television infrastructure. In Daniel Bryan vs Kofi Kingston at WrestleMania 35, WWE have both the problem-solving heel and their massive babyface problem's most organic, natural solution. Now this piece started with a comment on the overstuffed go-home shows for Fastlane, but neither featured a live appearance from the New Day. Big E, Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods were mentioned as being away with work on a promotional tour of India and chimed in with a selfie promo on SmackDown from Mumbai. They have promised to be on Sunday's show, but the trio don't have an actual role beyond their usual bout of merch-shifting banter. Now, if you think Kofi versus Bryan should be WWE's direction, how on earth are WWE going to get Kingston back into the match when the boss, the big man, took him out of it in the first place? Babyface as earnest as Kofi simply took the demotion and left, so him Becky Lynching his way back into the title match wouldn't even fit, even if it was just another rip-off from all the top action in the women's division that's going on Raw at the moment. Now, rather than getting stuck in the opening slot at Fastlane with their crowd-popping entrance, the New Day should be the last faces you see before the show goes off the air. Have them enter as a trio to save Owens from a beatdown from Bryan and his new cronies Rowan and Sami Zayn, spinning Owens into that WrestleMania program with Sami while Kofi has his eyes on the WWE title. And the best part is WWE don't even need to announce the match that night. They could, in fact, build even more obstacles for Kingston to knock down over the remaining weeks. But regardless, Kofi will at least have fought for something rather than stood for nothing. In 2018, Daniel Bryan fought for his dreams, and he now stands opposite a man who must do the exact same, only at his expense, 1 year later. So there you have it, folks, our take on how WWE Fastlane 2019 should end, and it all leads to Kofi Kingston versus Daniel Bryan, and of course Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn. And now that we're at the end, I implore you to head over to our website and check out the accompanying article written by the very lovely and very old Michael Hamflett. The link will be down below. It's a great read and you should really check it out. And as usual, go ahead and let us know what you guys think down in the comment section below, where, if you want, you can shout at me for not talking about Becky Lynch. It's okay, I'm very thick-skinned. Once you've done that, don't forget to like, share and subscribe. And for now, I've been Andy, enjoy Fastlane, and I'll see you later.